Hey guys, it's Jeremy Smith, Citadel, and I wanted to put out another video, another wide lesson and apply on on something that's going on today on a project, and not to talk about the specific issue. I'm going to generalize it a little bit more, and still do my wide lesson apply on it. But the what is what I notice when a project tends to get towards the end, or you get into a situation on a project where there's a lot of pressure, right? There's a lot of pressure on performing and hitting deadlines. And granted, we run our projects pretty aggressively, right? So we keep a moderate level of pressure on projects, on trades, on our subcontractors and what have you, generally, right? And that pressure is governed a little bit depending on the flow of the project, and then obviously towards the end we ramp it up a little bit so we can guarantee deadlines and getting completed and turning over projects. So we've got a couple projects right now where we're down towards the end, roughly just over a month left, and so we're trying to complete work so that we can get into some inspections and complete. And you always see some trades that handle that pressure really well, and some that don't, right? And so what we're seeing right now on a couple projects, and it's interesting to see that it's a common thing, is that when the pressure gets turned up, people start making excuses, right? They start throwing out roadblocks and challenges, and I can't do it because, and there's this and there's that, and I try not to build a story around it that they're just making excuses to buy time. And I think what happens is it's as much as we're focused on an end goal, I think that when you're getting towards the end and there's a lot of pressure on the job, people lose focus, right? They lose focus on what's right in front of them. And they start kind of focusing on, some future state that they're worried about, i.e. hitting a goal, hitting a deadline, hitting some kind of a target, and they don't focus on what's right in front of them. Because what happens is they start throwing out these roadblocks and issues and challenges and problems. Like I can't go. We got to stop and figure this out. And 9 times out of 10, the issue is not the issue, right? The issue is not the issue, and that's the what around my message today is. You get in these situations where the issue is really not the issue, right? People like to create other issues and they like to divert. And what I think we're really good at is breaking things down to a common denominator, breaking things down to a really simple level of that's the thing, that's the issue that you need to make a decision about, right? We try to break things down to some binary decision. Right, and sometimes that takes work. It takes a lot of questioning. Okay, well let's talk about it, right? And we try to rapidly get to that point so we can make a decision and move on. Okay, and we've got a couple instances where there's a lot of people involved in a discussion around a problem, right? When if you pull yourself out of the situation and you look at it really objectively, right? You look at it from the outside. And you're like, okay, well, that's really not the issue. This is not the issue. I know they said that's the issue. I know these guys said that's the issue. But if you look at it objectively, the issue is somewhere in the middle. And most of the time, it's a pretty black and white issue, right? So again, not going into any details, we're dealing with a problem with one of our trades who happens to be a great, company. They're a really good, highly recommended company that we're working with, and it just so happens we're at the end of the project. We're putting pressure. We're trying to hit these deadlines, and this company's throwing up their hands, going, "Well, I need to get involvement. I need people to answer questions, And just through a few, short questions, you find out that the issue is just a little thing. It's like, well, where to put this? Where are we going to put this piece of equipment? This control box, right? And had that been brought up in the beginning and stated really clearly, right, we could have got the answer and moved on without, 20 different emails, 5 different phone calls, or what have you, right? Break it down to the smallest common denominator issue that we can make a decision on and move on, or get an answer to that and move on, right? And granted, there's shades of gray, right? And there's nuance. I get all that. But the why around the issue is not the issue. Why is that important, right? It's important because sometimes you've got to stop and get clarity, right? Sometimes you've got to stop, pull yourself out of the situation, and look at something really objectively and say, what is the real issue here? Like, what is the core thing we're trying to solve? Okay? And then typically you can solve that problem. Maybe it's 2 or 3 little issues together that you can solve. But getting it organized, racking and stacking kind of what needs to be decided upon, what information do we need to get as soon as possible in an organized way, and then you can package that up and put that in front of the person that can give you the answer, whether that's us, whether that's the architect, whether that's an engineer, whether it's a consultant, right? Organize it, get it really concise, and put it out, or make a decision and go down the road, right? Because you start ending up getting this paralysis by analysis. You get 30 people that want to have a say-so in this issue, when really it's a conversation with maybe 1 or 2 people that can solve the problem. So I say all that because the lesson is, right, when you start seeing people get under pressure and they're throwing up roadblocks, telling you why they can or can't do something, the issue is typically not the issue. Okay, it's usually can be boiled down and kind of diluted down to one thing, right? One thing that you got to act upon. So how do we apply that? Okay, how do we apply that in our daily lives? Well, in construction, we get a lot of opportunities. In project management, you get a lot of opportunities. Because the name of the game for construction is problem solving. I mean, without problems, we wouldn't have a job, right? If construction projects went off without an issue, okay, there'd be no need for what we do. So we are really good at solving problems, and I think the way we solve problems is breaking things down to a really black and white discussion so that you can make a decision and act on it. So that's it, guys. I would love to hear your feedback. If you agree, disagree, make sure if you like the video, subscribe, and there's more to come, guys. Thank you very much, and have a good night.